Hey, how's it going guys? Kaptain Kuba here, and today I felt the need to make this video because for the past few days I've been talking real good about Elden Ring. And some of you are wondering if I have suddenly changed themes, so I wanted to explain more in depth what I'm feeling with this game and why I think it's going to be influential for the future of the God of War series and adventure games in general. Now, for those of you living under a rock, Elden Ring is another game made by From Software. You control a Tarnish who's on a mission to become an Elden Lord, and along the way you kill larger-than-life monsters. And at first this might seem like a classic From Software game. You get to customize your character from the very beginning and just go on a very messed up and dark adventure. The difference with Elden Ring is that this is From Software's first open world game, and I think it is definitely one of the best ones I've ever played. Before Elden Ring came out, I used to talk about Red Dead 2 and Breath of the Wild as being the kings of the open world genre, but I think Elden Ring has beaten both of them, because From Software took what made these two games so special and combined them into one experience. Red Dead 2 had such an amazing world that to this day you can probably find new places to discover, but sadly it was lacking in the gameplay department. The third-person shooting felt very generic, and Breath of the Wild was the opposite. It had an amazing open world combat as well as traversal, but the world itself was kind of meh. All I remember about that game was just empty fields of grass. So the good thing about Elden Ring is that it has an amazing world and a really good traversal and combat. From the very beginning, you are free to go anywhere, and I think that is the key to making a good open world game. As much as I want to like Horizon Forbidden West, I have to say that I was very disappointed when the game wouldn't even let me go to the west. You know, the place where you're supposed to go. You can't enter this Why? Why the hell can I not enter this? Are you Is this the west? Did we find the west? Elden Ring doesn't have that issue. The game vaguely tells you where you have to go, but you can choose to go anywhere from the very beginning. And even though I haven't finished the game yet, I have to say that I already made some core memories with it, because the game is not open for the sake of being open. Everywhere you go, you'll find something interesting to look at, and it doesn't even have to be something really big. For example, the other day I was looking at the map and I noticed a river I hadn't explored yet. I simply had the thought, maybe I'll find something cool there. When I arrived at the river, I noticed a bridge on top of me with some skeletons hanging from their necks. I thought it was a cool decoration for that section of the map, so I pressed on. Little did I know that these skeletons would come to life. And just like that, I had one of the coolest enemy encounters in all of my years of gaming. There wasn't anything special about fighting these skeletons. God of War 2 had a similar moment 15 years ago. Both of these enemy encounters had the same surprise element. But the fact that Elden Ring never told me to go there made the experience of fighting these enemies much better. Another core memory was coming across the Siofra river well. I was just exploring the world and I came across this dome looking thing. I entered it thinking I was just gonna find some cool loot. But as I descended into the depths of the world, I experienced one of the greatest moments in all of my years of gaming. Beneath the world of this game was another open world. Once again, this was a similar feeling I had when I first went to, let's say, Alfheim in God of War 2018. But because Elden Ring never told me to go there, made this moment 10 times better. This is why I think Elden Ring is revolutionary. God of War always provided me with a sense of adventure whenever the game took me to the Underworld, Olympus, Jotunheim, and many other places. Elden Ring gives me that same sense of adventure, but it never tells me to go there. It gives me agency. With that said though, I still think I'm gonna enjoy God of War Ragnarok a lot more. And I mean a lot more. There's just too much going on with that game to be ignored. The story, the characters, the gameplay, the new realms. When God of War Ragnarok comes out, it will most likely blow the competition out of the water. And as good as Elden Ring is, I have to be honest, I only kinda like From Software games. I love the world, art design, mysterious lore, but man, the game just ruins my sense of adventure with its difficulty. When adventuring, I want to feel like a badass. This game will make you feel quite the opposite. I can't tell you how many times I saw something cool in the distance, and upon getting there, I was met by an arrow to the head. You know that place I described as a core memory? The river of Siofra well or something? Well, I haven't been able to finish that section simply because it's too difficult. And let me get something straight. I'm not asking From Software to make their games easier. Their difficulty level is one of the things that makes them From Software games, and I think developers should have a right to make the game they want to make. I just hope another developer sees the success Elden Ring is having with gamers all over the world and implements a similar design to their open world while still making it more for the general audience. And I just hope that developer is Santa Monica Studios. And I know Cory Barlog has said in past interviews how he doesn't like open world games because it feels like they just give him a list of things to do. And I agree with him. I can't bring myself to play games like Horizon Forbidden West anymore exactly because of that. I mean, look at this map. Their combat and enemy design might be top notch, but I just can't bring myself to engage with this fake exploration. So I'm just saying, if Santa Monica ever decides to make an open world God of War game, they really need to study Elden Ring. And I know what some of you are probably thinking. You're just jumping on the Elden Ring bandwagon. But longtime fans of the channel know that I've always been open to the idea of an open world God of War game. Think about exploring as either Kratos or Atreus on another pantheon, and you come across a giant open hand in the desert. Being curious, you stand on it and examine it. Suddenly the ground starts to shake and the hand begins to lift off. It is actually a giant, and now you have to fight it. Does this sound familiar? Yup, it's the Kronos fight. But imagine you came across this encounter just by exploring the world and not because the game told you to go there. Be honest right now. Wouldn't you like an optional encounter like this as opposed to the side missions you get in God of War 2018? Of course you would. Now, there are some things that Santa Monica will need to iron out if they ever make an open world God of War game. It's obvious to me that Santa Monica can't just copy Elden Ring's style of narrative. God of War games have always followed a classic way of telling their stories. There's a 3-act structure, characters have arcs, you know, all the classic good stuff in storytelling. Elden Ring, on the other hand...
Hush, little Calva. I'll soon birth thee anew, a sweeting, fresh and pure.
Yeah, for the most part, that game is incomprehensible. And I'm not saying the game has a bad story, but you definitely need to look at the environment and put it together yourself. This type of narrative style simply wouldn't work well with a God of War game. So the goal for Santa Monica, if they were to make an open world God of War game, is to mix the exploration of Elden Ring with the amazing storytelling they already have. Again, only if they want to. God of War truly doesn't need to become an open world game to succeed. Santa Monica created a brand new formula for the series back in 2008 that hasn't reached its full potential yet. And God of War Ragnarok already seems to be improving upon it with combat, traversal, as well as the addition of all the Norse realms. I can honestly see Santa Monica make this type of God of War game for 2 or 3 more entries in the series. But we also have to keep in mind that failure to innovate was the reason God of War almost died back in 2013. If it wasn't for Cory's new and bold vision, we might not even be here talking about Kratos, Atreus, and the future of God of War itself. This is why I think the God of War series will eventually have to innovate itself once again. The question is, in what way? I still think the natural course of action is for the God of War series to eventually tackle the open world genre in a way that resembles the exploration and amazing world of Elden Ring. But then again, this is just my opinion. In what direction you, the God of War community, would be interested in seeing God of War go next? Whatever your thoughts about this topic are, make sure to leave them in the comments section below. And if you've played Elden Ring, please let me know what you think of it as well. I'm really interested in hearing your opinion on it. But anyway, that's gonna be it for today, guys. As always, I want to give a big thanks to all of my members for supporting the channel monthly. People like Neville James, Leo Jiris VO, Mr. Moye, Friendem Frank, Cole, Buck Wild, Eli A, Callum7, Andy Hubbard, Mr. Holthen, and many, many more are the main reason I'm able to call YouTube my job. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I would also like to thank everyone who likes and shares my videos. I know it doesn't seem like much, but trust me, it really does help. And with that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.